I'm going to go over the SRD Tuning Undertray for a MK4 Supra. This is sold in the UK. I live in the US. I had it shipped. It probably took about a week for them to ship it out and then another week for it to arrive. They sell it in this powder coat finish or in a bare aluminum. I ordered it in aluminum, and they sent me an email saying that they didn't have any in stock. Everything they had was powder coated, and they asked if it'd be okay to send me the powder coated stuff instead at the same cost. Normally it costs a little bit more. So I said that's fine. I got it installed. It did come with hardware. It came with a lot of these. It came with some bolts like this, and it came with some Allen head key stuff. I did use some of these clips, but I opted to use a lot of OEM hardware instead as far as bolts, just so it kind of matched everything else. I did new fender liners and everything at the same time. I did the new side pieces, and I ordered their tray for the front stuff. And the reason for that is their tray dips down a little bit here. So if you're running a big front mount, you're not going to be able to run the factory Undertray. So this is a 4-inch ETS core, and it's too low. If you were to run the factory Undertray, you'd have to cut out a big area here for the bottom. It'd be real flimsy. You can't really do it. Whereas this dips down, it clears that just fine. And I opted for their belly pan as well. I probably could have ran the OEM belly pan, some people do, but I figured it was just as easy to get it from them, and it may hold up a little bit better being aluminum. And I do have bent AC lines to clear my intercooler piping in there. They do hang down below the lower radiator support, and they do fit on top of this tray nicely. I don't know if I can film in there or not. It's probably gonna be upside down, but it's not hitting. There's easily a finger width gap in there. So overall, it's all right. It looks really good. The finish is nice. I did have to mess around with it a little bit for fitment, and I'll go over that. I had to notch this out for my intercooler bracket and then drill a hole here for the Allen key. That's no fault of theirs. That's obviously something that is aftermarket, and you can't really accommodate that. The other thing that I had to mess with, the front tray ends in kind of a weird spot, right? So you can see there's a bolt hole right up here for the lip, and it's kind of at a critical point. That's where the bumper wants to do that little step. I don't know if you've ever looked at the underside of a Supra bumper, but it kind of comes over and then drops down and over, or vice versa. It comes over, goes up, and then over. And it's important to have something on each side of that to clamp it around that little step. Otherwise, you'll have a gap in your bumper. So that's kind of a poor placement for it. If it was a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, you could fit it there and fit the OEM bolt, but it literally splits the hole on each side. So what I did is I drilled another hole here through their plate, through my lip, through my bumper, just so I can have some clamping force here, and I left that bolt out. So that's not too bad, I guess, to deal with. The undertray holes for the OEM spots, there's one here, and one here. Those are way off, not even in the same ballpark, probably 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch off. You can kind of see where I had to elongate it. So that's where the hole originally was. Had to move it over, This one I also elongated. You can see it kind of better how much I had to elongate it, probably more than an inch. And I don't have a bolt through here because none of the ones they sent, or the OEM ones, will reach up there to grab that. I need to get 2 longer ones for those. They just go through so many layers of metal. Over here on the edges, right, I had to grab this and bend that out because it wanted to hit the edge of the fender liner. I had to do that on both sides. That wasn't too big of a deal. I did have to do some trimming. So right here, this piece where it comes over, it would hit this, so I had to cut the corner off. This side is actually fine, which seems weird. Why would one side be fine and the other not be fine? If you take some measurements, right, if you go from this hole to the edge over here, and then do the exact same thing from this side to the edge over here, this left side is about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch longer. So this side of the pin right here is sticking out further than the other side. That's why it would hit that edge. And this little lip here, from here to here, the fin, this was the same on each side, but because this wall was pushed over, it caused this to be pushed over, and I had to trim 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch off of this so that it wouldn't want to end right over the middle of this bolt. So not too bad. It was powder coated, so when you do that, you do expose some aluminum. So I just took some semi-flat spray paint that I had. I sprayed a little bit into the cap, dabbed the paintbrush in it, and just ran it over the edges. So fitment wise, I'd probably rate it maybe a B-. They could have done a little bit more to make it fit a little bit better, but with pretty much anything in the aftermarket world, expect some modifications. After you do the work, it probably fits closer to a B+. Some of the things that I wish they did differently, and then I haven't figured out how to deal with yet, is this bend. This bolts up, right, to a flat surface. It's underneath the radiator support. It's flat, and if you look at it from here, you can see this bend comes down, and then it kind of bends right up. So this isn't sitting flat against the radiator support, and you can kind of see it where I had to trim out for this bracket. I could trim this even more. It's not going to matter. This is bent. It's not laying flush. If I tighten all these bolts down, they'll make it flush, but it's going to destroy this bend, or you'll have an indentation around every bolt head. So I think I'm going to try to put some kind of washer behind that, maybe get a little piece of PVC and cut it at an angle to match that. That way when I tighten the bolts, it's not going to want to crush that and make it kind of look crappy. On the front of it, I had to bend these out a little bit too, but that wasn't too bad. Just to show where it goes. They didn't give me any instructions or anything like that. I saw a few pictures online. Some people mounted this tray on the outside of this, but more people than not mounted it like I have it. I think that's just for the direction of the car. So if you're going, you don't want anything behind it sticking down lower that could catch something. You want, if something's got to rub, you want it to kind of rub over every face. Not that I hope it does rub, because if it does, my lip is going to take a beating, and it'll probably mingle up the aluminum pretty good. So that's it. Not bad for what it is. Pretty good aftermarket alternative. If I could have ran stock without having to hack it up very much for the intercooler, I probably would have. But this seems to get the job done.